The sunlight beamed warmly over the Santa Monica Pier, where joyful sounds, lively tunes, and the sweet scent of cotton candy drifted through the breeze. Families wandered along the wooden walkway. Kids pulled eagerly at their parents' arms for thrilling rides, and couples rested against the railing, gazing at the waves rolling beneath. Still, within this vibrant, happy setting, one young woman sat calmly in her wheelchair close to the carousel, attempting to merge with the bustling crowd. Her name was Elise Carter, a 19-year-old whose world had shifted completely after a tragic crash left her unable to move from the waist down. She cherished the pier, the turning Ferris wheel, the soft strums of guitarists performing for coins, and the fresh ocean wind made her spirits soar once more. But what worried her deeply were the stares from strangers, how they glanced at her chair before ever seeing her face. That afternoon, though, she promised herself she wouldn't let fear hold her back. She planned to glide along the pier alone, sip a cool lemonade, and experience the day just like anyone else. She longed to feel ordinary again. Yet that sense of normal didn't last long. 3 young guys spotted her from across the boardwalk. They were noisy, strutting boldly, and clearly craving attention. One wore a bright floral shirt, chest pushed forward, ink markings trailing down his arms. The other 2 sported worn denim vests. They'd been pushing each other around, laughing rudely, but when their gaze fell on Elise, their smirks sharpened. They moved toward her slowly, like hunters circling a target. One leaned in close and hissed, "Move!" The words cut through her like a blade. Elise stiffened. She'd grown used to quiet murmurs behind her, but this was different. This was bold, harsh, and right in front of everyone. Before she could respond, the man in the floral shirt chuckled and kicked his foot toward her wheelchair. The jolt rocked her seat, tilting her sideways. She gasped, one hand reaching out to balance, the other gripping the wheel tightly. She nearly toppled onto the pier's wooden surface. People nearby glanced over, but instead of coming forward, most just turned away. And that was when her heart dropped, not because of the bully's words, but because of everyone else's silence. Friends, if you believe kindness should never stay quiet, and that every person deserves second chances and respect, please pause for a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Tales Stories. Together, we can make stories like this truly matter. Elise blinked away tears, but the men weren't done. They jeered, mocking her as if her wheelchair was some kind of joke. "Bet you can't even stand without help," one sneered. Another laughed so hard he doubled over, slapping his thigh. Every word chipped away at her confidence. She wanted to disappear, to wheel herself away as fast as possible, but her arms felt heavy, frozen. Then something shifted in the air. At first it was the sound, a deep, steady roar that pulsed through the pier's planks. The bullies' laughter stumbled as heads turned toward the road leading in. One by one, motorcycles rolled onto the scene, chrome shining under the California sun. Black leather, polished boots, tattoos that spoke of hard-lived journeys. They arrived in numbers too great to count, dozens, perhaps more. Engines growled like thunder rolling in from the sea. The pier seemed to shake as they parked their bikes and stepped off. A wave of bikers, broad-shouldered and stern-faced, began walking toward the disturbance. Among them were men and women, old and young, but all wore the same look, anger held tightly in silence. Their vests carried emblems, but it wasn't the patches that mattered. It was the unity, the loyalty, the sheer strength of their presence. The bullies, once so loud, suddenly turned pale. The man in the floral shirt let his mocking grin fade. His eyes darted side to side, searching for a way out, but the bikers closed in too quickly. The boardwalk crowd grew silent, all eyes now locked on the unfolding moment. The once lively pier felt like the set of a powerful film. Elise's breath caught in her throat. She had never witnessed anything like it. A wall of leather and steel advanced, their boots hitting the wood in perfect rhythm. The leader, a tall man with a silver beard and calm but intense eyes, stepped forward until he stood just feet from the bullies. Without speaking, he crossed his arms, his stare so piercing it could cut through steel. Behind him, the rest of the bikers spread out, forming a solid shield around Elise. The bullies stepped back. Suddenly, so small, their confidence vanishing before this silent force. No one touched them, but the message was unmistakable. You will not harm her again. Elise could feel her heartbeat pounding in her ears. For the first time since the accident, she didn't feel small or pitied or weak. She felt guarded, valued. She felt truly seen. The bikers didn't shout. They didn't need to. Their presence alone shifted everything. The pier, once filled with cruel laughter, now hummed with awe. People who had looked away earlier now stared in wonder, some even raising phones to capture the moment. The bullies, realizing they had become the villains of their own story, stumbled away, shoulders slumped, muttering under their breath. And then the most incredible thing happened. The leader turned to Elise, his stern face softening. He knelt slightly to meet her eyes at her level. "You're safe now," he said gently. His voice was deep, rough, yet full of warmth. Elise's eyes filled with tears she had fought to hold back. She nodded, unable to speak. Around her, the bikers smiled and gave her encouraging thumbs up, some placing gentle hands on her chair in quiet support. They didn't see her as broken. They didn't see her as a burden. They saw her as someone worth defending. The moment stretched into something eternal. The Ferris wheel turned slowly in the background. The ocean breeze carried the salty air. And on that bright California day, an army of bikers turned a story of cruelty into a moment of unforgettable compassion. The crowd burst into applause. Children clapped, parents smiled with relief, and even strangers came forward to touch Elise's shoulder. But none of it compared to the warmth she felt knowing that for once the world had answered cruelty with courage. In the days that followed, Elise's story spread far beyond the pier. Videos uploaded online captured the exact moment when the bikers surrounded her, and soon it became a viral symbol of protection and kindness. People around the world commented, sharing their own stories of times when someone had stood up for them or when they had failed to stand up for someone else. The story became more than hers. It became a reminder of what humanity could look like at its best. Before we end, I have one special request. Drop a comment below with the words, "Kindness protects." If you believe the world needs more people who stand up against cruelty,